Once you start working out, one of the things that most men, if not all men, think about is testosterone and do I have enough of it? And as I did some research, at first I was going to take the very American way and just buy some, but I realized that there's like a ton of different natural remedies that you could take, right? And change your habits so that you can naturally boost your testosterone. So I'm going to list off a couple that I've done, and I kind of have Chris Pratt here as like a perfect example here. I'm pretty sure he probably maybe took some testosterone, and I'm only saying that because obviously you have to transform very quickly for a movie, but he could have done this naturally too. He looks pretty natural right here. But what I did on my my journey to boost my testosterone, and for a reference, I had a 370 total testosterone, and before actually getting on TRT, I was like, let me try to see if I can fix it naturally. So what I did, first of all, I had like a list of things that I went online, and I was like, okay, there's so much information there, like what's going to work for me, what's not. And the first thing that worked for me, right away I saw a difference, was quality sleep, which was getting at least like 8 hours of sleep. So, and consistently, right? So you can't be like getting 8 hours of sleep consistently Monday to Friday and then Saturday, Sunday, staying up till like 2 in the morning and then waking up at like 7. You have to be consistent all around. So in January, I took my first testosterone test, 375, and then I began that, okay, let me fix my sleep. Couldn't really sleep, as most of people, right? I was like doom scrolling. I was like, okay, I can't get off my phone. I'm not tired. Mind's going like a million miles per minute. And so then I was like, okay, I need some supplementation. I got vitamin D3 with K2. And then I got magnesium, zinc. I took those every night. I actually did the vitamin D3, that one that has like 10,000 IUs, which is a little bit on the higher side, but I was like, let me just take a good amount of this, because if you work in an office, you're not, at least for me, it was like office, gym, home. It's like zero sunlight. So I was like, okay, I need to definitely supplement some vitamin D3, and then whenever I can, get some sunlight. So I did that. I did 10,000 IUs daily, and then I did magnesium, and I did zinc. So those three, because also when I did my blood work for my testosterone, I did get a panel on what I was deficient on, and vitamin D3 was actually one that I was deficient. So I was like, let me just take this, and then I also saw a lot of Reddit forums and different information that were talking about how magnesium, a lot of people are deficient in magnesium. So I started with sleep, supplementation, and then I worked on the diet. So on the diet, made sure that I was eating a well-balanced diet. So it was like my previous diet was like high fat, high carbs, which I think that's most Americans. And then I wasn't eating breakfast. And then the first meal that I would have was like probably at like 2 p.m. And then I would have dinner, and then that was it. And it was like huge amounts. So it would spike my insulin, fall asleep. It was just like horrible, horrible eating habits. So sleep, supplementation with vitamins and minerals. And then I did my diet, which I basically made sure that I was consuming like a proper balanced meal, which for me, it looked like carb cycling is what I did, or what I still do. I noticed I wasn't consuming any fiber. So believe it or not, if you're not consuming enough fiber, it could negatively affect your total testosterone if you're not consuming enough fiber. Believe it or not, I know, crazy, right? The more you know. So I actually went online and I bought, I think on Amazon, there was a product called Fiberlize, but it's a fiber supplement. You get any fiber supplement, but this is the one that I got, and it's probably one of the more popular ones. great product. Obviously, it allows you to process the food better. So fix the diet. That was third. And then fourth was staying hydrated. So I was consuming still about a gallon of water a day. And then one thing that people miss is they're not measuring their salt intake properly. So you want to make sure you measure that properly. So I was doing a half a tablespoon of pink Himalayan salt with about every meal, and I was having 5 meals a day. So it's quite a bit of salt, but believe it or not, I was sweating a lot, working out. And so diet, water intake was 4, and then fifth was salt intake. I want to put that all just with like basically diet, working out regularly, right? Making sure you're doing a strength training program. I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I run every day and I'm doing marathon. Marathon running is, believe it or not, it's not that good for your testosterone. So there has to be a balance to it. Also, if you're working out, you have to get proper rest. That's why number 1 is important, but and you can feel it. You feel like that, like tension in your body. You feel like irritated. That's when you know you have to, okay, I have to get some sleep. I have to rest better. There's something that's off if you feel very fatigued. It doesn't mean continue pushing. It means, all right, it's time to recover. But so I did that for a good solid 4 months straight. And then I went and did my testosterone test again. And my testosterone came back 680. So it's like close to almost 700. So I'd like nearly doubled it, right? Crazy. So that worked, and my mood changed. It completely changed my total mood. It's not just like, and this is the most important thing of what I learned, right? Because I think a lot of people think testosterone is going to make me look manly, and I'm going to look jacked, and I'm going to get buff. And sure, like, yeah, if you boost your testosterone, yeah, you'll be able to build muscle better, but it makes effort feel good. So like when you're waking up in the morning, it's not like, oh God, I gotta wake up. It's more of like, damn, I'm excited to wake up. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to problem solving, getting this done, checking stuff off my checklist. That was like the biggest perk to increasing my testosterone and just changing my habits was my mindset. It just made effort, and it's like a snowball, right? So if your desire to do stuff increases, then you're going to do more stuff. You're going to set more goals, accomplish more things, and therefore it leads to even healthier overall hormones. Because even though it's all the stuff that I mentioned is good to increase your testosterone, there's other psychological factors that come into play. So like competition will boost your testosterone. So like if you have a physical confrontation, I'm not saying go out and fight people, but if you have a physical confrontation, whether like you sign up for jiu-jitsu or boxing, if you have a verbal confrontation and you engage in it, right, it'll boost testosterone. And it's just so interesting the way hormones work. So anyways, that was kind of my story on how I boosted my testosterone, and I just find it completely interesting on how it just ties to everything: personality, quality of life. It's not just about getting jacked. It's also about just being able to accomplish goals. It's not just, I mean, of course we want to look like right here on the right, but it's the mindset, right? Like, I mean, even for example, Chris Pratt. He upgraded his physique, but if you actually look into his life, he upgraded his overall life. Like he married a Kennedy. He married Arnold's daughter, right? He's like, I don't know. He had like a very sarcastic. I mean, he still has a little bit of that personality, but he's over here like, taking on roles where he's farting and being silly, like in Parks and Rec, and now he's like a leading man, right, in action films. Did you ever think this guy was going to be a leading man? No. But then he did this physical change to be, I think, Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy. And then I think that snowballed to like a bunch of other leading man roles, and there was no going back. Now he's like more ambitious. You see him kind of getting involved a little bit with like politics, and I think he would have never done that. Over here is kind of like, whatever, screw it. I'm a carefree kind of guy. Now he's over here taking charge of his life and going after what he wants. And I definitely believe that's because of a higher testosterone. But anyways, I'll leave you guys with this video that I did find on testosterone, because I was like, whoa, that's exactly how I feel.
Testosterone has the effects we're all aware of, like deepening the voice, facial hair, muscle growth, recovery, etc. Mostly because testosterone increases protein synthesis. You look at a young male in puberty, it's a protein synthesis machine. Yeah. They eat, and they just grow and grow and grow, and they're putting on muscles and they're lean. And testosterone has some very interesting effects on the brain. The major mental effect of testosterone is it makes effort feel good.
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense. Joe Rogan cracks me up. But yeah, I mean, that's Professor Huberman, right, from Stanford. He studies this stuff, so he definitely knows what he's talking about. But it makes effort feel good. I think that's the overall takeaway that I got, the biggest perk. But if you guys are currently on the fence of taking TRT, I would probably suggest to, seek ways to maybe, if you could produce something naturally, because sometimes it's just a lifestyle change, and you don't need to rely on TRT because it's a huge decision. Like, I did my research, and yeah, it's good. Like for guys that are like, there's no lifestyle change that would get you to a point where you're going to be able to produce healthy levels of testosterone. So at that point, you're like, okay, well, I have to do this. But if you could just do a lifestyle change, it'll prevent you from having a pen like every day or once a week or whatever. I mean, regardless of how often it is, it's probably super annoying. And then if you're dependent on it, then it's going to be one of those things where you're like, well, the price goes up, or it's harder to find, or they make it illegal. Whereas if you could just get you jumpstart your nutsack and you get it back to healthy levels, then you're good to go. Just wake up and have your healthy routine, and that's it. But yeah, anyways, guys, if you guys like this video, subscribe. And I want to know like where you guys are at on your current journey. If you guys are on the fence of taking TRT, or if you guys are going to do maybe some natural remedies first, and then from there figure out what's your next move. But anyways, thanks for watching.